Craig Young, how's Tui coming to Meekle and is he going to play?
I'm not quite sure he's going to play or not, but he's done a couple of our sessions so far this week, so he's come through that okay. So we're thinking that there's a real good chance that he will play, but again, he's still got to get through a couple of other sessions, and the one today will be a little bit faster than, or a little bit more intensity about the session than the first two have been. So we'll see how he pulls up after that and go from there.
Is it tempting to have four forwards, considering the conditions? Is that a temptation for you, or do you like that better?
Well, it is, again, I suppose, what the other, the rest of the team is made up of decides that. And, I think, having the back on there is very handy as well in case you get an injury in your backs, So, there's probably 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, So at the end of the day, we've got to work out what we think is right for us for Sunday night, and then go from there.
Craig, we see the effort and intensity you put into this job. I know you said you're committed to next year, but how do you think your energy levels will be back this season out there in competition?
Oh yeah, this time of year you're always feeling a little bit fatigued at, in September, well, obviously October this year, but at the end of the day, it's you get to the final week, you always find a little bit of energy there. So that really helps you. But it's been a different year, obviously, and like I say, I haven't really sort of sat around thinking about how I'm feeling energy-wise or motivation-wise, but I know we're all been through some difficult times this year. It's not just this footy team; it's been all the footy teams and a lot of people in general, especially down in Melbourne. So we're just basically focused on doing our jobs and just making sure we're doing them as well as we can. That's what we expect from our players. So we've got to have that from our coaches and our staff as well. But like I say, there's plenty of energy around this week, and hopefully we can finish it off.
Cam, how much confidence do you take from the grand final experience you've got in your team? I know you said earlier in the week you don't think Penrith you think they'll handle the occasion, but you must derive some confidence from having plenty of guys been there a few times.
Yeah, well, you always take confidence into a game when you've got experience like we do, and we've got guys in our team that have won premierships. We've got guys in our side that have lost premierships, there's some guys there experiencing their first grand final, but we're not too focused on what's going on with Penrith and the way they're going to approach the game. The most important thing for us is the way we prepare this week, and it's been good so far. That the coaches have done a great job in keeping the energy around the place and making sure that we're feeling fresh coming into the game on Sunday. And I think the guys that have been there a couple of times before are going to be vital to our side, and if they play well, then it's only going to help those younger boys in their first grand final.
Craig, just on the sort of the journey that the team's had to go through this year, and the fact that you have been on the road for so long, and any premierships and achievement, would this have an extra special element if you come away with the trophy at all?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about extra. I remember our 2012 grand final win was a very emotional one because of what happened in 2010. But again, it's I think if it did happen, I think we'd see it as not. I just think we'd see it as special. It was a really different time, for the game as a whole, but also for us having to move away from Melbourne and staying away from our home, for 3 or 4 months or 4 months or whatever it's been. So, I'm not quite sure how we'd look at it at the end of it, but I think there's been some teams a little bit more disadvantaged than other teams because of living away from home or because of travel. Some teams have had to travel more than other teams. So at the end of the day, it's hard to work out what's what you're going to get out of it, or how you're going to remember it, how you're going to see it, until that actually happens. And we're not trying to think about that yet. We're just trying to think about our preparation, and hopefully we can get that right, and then we'll go from there.
Cameron, you've won all the premierships you've won. You won with Slater and Cronk, 1 and 7. What gives you confidence that Pappenhausen and particularly Hughes can do the job in this new squad?
Their form over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I think that in its, if you've been watching our games over the last month and a half, I think that shows you why I'd have confidence in those players, and not just myself, the rest of the team and the coaches as well. And I think I spoke the other day about particularly those two players and how they've come in, and they're wearing pretty famous Melbourne Storm jerseys, the 1 and the 7. And when Billy and Cooper finished up at our club, it wasn't about trying to find the next Billy Slater or the next Cooper Cronk and trying to get someone to emulate the way they played. It was, we're not going to replace those players. We'll never ever see another Billy Slater or Cooper Cronk, and that was the great thing about our club, was that it was sad to see those guys finish up at our organisation, but the reality is we weren't going to see another 2 players like that. We just had to encourage these young guys to come in and with the coach's guidance, give them the opportunity to be their very best, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. So, those 2 guys have been outstanding this year. The thing for me as an older player and the captain is, when I look at these young guys coming into the competition or just starting out their career, I'm looking for improvement year on year, and those 2 certainly this year have come on in leaps and bounds. And I think particularly with Jerome, he started his career with us as a bit of a utility. He played a bit of fullback, he played a bit of 5'8", he got thrown in with the number 7 here and there, and I think just with this year, with Craig telling those 2 guys, Ryan, you're the fullback, and Jerome, you're the halfback, at the very start of pre-season, it give them an opportunity to try and settle into the team, build their combinations with their teammates around them, and now we see the result of a lot of their hard work.
Cameron, I know you're a humble sort of fellow, but when people are saying that you're one of the best number 9s that they've seen play the game, I mean, how does it make you feel when people are passing you and stuff like that?
No, it's always nice to receive compliments. I'm like any other human being. You get a pat on the back and it feels good. So, but I know that any type of compliment or acknowledgement is not going to help me play well on the weekend. That's completely in my control, no one else's. And the thing I've learned over my career, and the thing that helps you play well is your preparation. So I've just tried to keep things as normal as possible this week. I know it's a grand final, but stick to the same routine. Understand your role that the coach and your teammates want you to do, and go out and get it done the best you can.
Is this grand final week feel so much more relaxed than say others when you've been in Sydney build up? I imagine you've rocked up to many grand final press conferences in
No, and I apologise for that. It's today's our big day, and we don't get a lot of time off. So I've just come from middle of a session and lunch, but
Jamie's short time.
Yeah, well, it does, because given a lot of the restrictions around the country, and particularly Queensland at the moment, we're up here on the Sunshine Coast preparing for a grand final, and it's unlike any other that I've been involved in. Only once, I think it was our first one in 06, where we flew to Sydney for the grand final breakfast, then we returned to Melbourne for the rest of our preparation before the game. Other than that, we've always been in Sydney fairly early on, whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday, leading into the game, and there's a fair bit going on, with certain formalities that need to happen and press conferences and all that. But yeah, it's quite relaxed, which is, I think, I hope that it's going to benefit us, particularly those young guys that are experiencing their first grand final. This is the same build-up that we've had for every other game we've played this year. And I just mentioned before in the previous question, I think it's important that you try and keep the same routine as much as possible leading into this big game.
Craig,
get a sense that this year has been very much about taking each game at a time, working through, as Captain said, a similar process, not getting too carried away, and just methodically working through each round to where you are now?
I think that's probably describes us for about the last 18 years, to be quite honest. You know, we don't think too far ahead, without a doubt. Obviously, you know, as I said before, you know, I have made some. We've made some changes this year to how we prepare for some games. I suppose, and then we think that's been successful, so we've just carried it on. So there has been some different things that we've done this year because of the situation that we've been in. It's probably, Kevin might disagree, but I think it's been a little bit more relaxed than some of the preparations that we've had. But you know, I think that needed to happen because of the situation, because of the circumstance. You know, we've got a few of our players and staff up here without families, and so there were some things that we probably needed to adjust, I suppose. And you know, and it hasn't just been, you know, someone's decision. We're sort of, you know, when someone's sort of an idea or, you know, what we think might help us in this situation, we've all sat down and talked about it, and then basically made the decision from there. So it has been, you know, probably not as routine and not as structured, I suppose, as we have, you know, when we've been in Melbourne in the last 17 years. But you know, we've tried to stick to as much as we can, without a doubt. But we need to make some changes, and we have.
Craig, I get the feeling Cam's not going to settle for losing on the weekend. Like, do you admire his motivation after 430 games and the way he still approaches the game and prepares for it?
Oh yeah, but again, you know, I wouldn't expect anything else. You know, I've been around him for 18 years, so I know. Well, I don't exactly know what makes him tick, but I wish I knew. But at the end of the day, I know the competitor that's in him. I know the great care he has for his teammates and the club and the team in general. And basically, you know, he's willing to, I suppose, take a little bit of spotlight, a little bit of what he sees as, you know, really important to his job. Sometimes, you know, he'll back out a little bit of that, you know, if it's better for the team, you know, for a couple of other players to play a certain role, which probably might restrict his role in some areas. You know, he's always, even when he was a young guy, he was always a great team man. That hasn't changed. And like I say, you know, it's no one in the game has done what he's done. You know, you can have your opinion on anything about his career or him or whatever, but at the end of the day, no one has done what he's done in our game. And you know, you talk about great players, but for me, greatness is, you know, the quality of your performance. And how long has he done it for? Well, no one's done it like he has, and it might be a little while before someone does.
What's it going to take to beat this Panthers team? They obviously haven't lost a game for ages. How do you do it?
Oh, again, you know, there's some things that we see in their team that that are real strong points for them. So hopefully we can negate a few of those things. But having said that, you know, we're going to rely on what we've been good at the last 2 or 3 weeks. I think we've made some real steps forwards in the last 2 or 3 weeks with a couple of parts of our game. So we want to sharpen that up a little bit more, you know. So, you know, obviously, you know, we think we're aware of some things that Penrith do really well, and we know they really rely on that, and we know that we're playing a really good side. You don't win 17 games straight in this competition unless you're a real good footy team. So, but you know, our main focus is making sure that the things that we do well, we want to do really well on Sunday afternoon, and make sure we're using every player in that 17-man squad, using their strengths, and hopefully, you know, that can get the job done.
How much is it about the energy and the momentum? I mean, Penrith are a young team, and they obviously do play with a lot of enthusiasm, particularly when they're on the roll. How much is it sort of trying to stop them finding that spark?
Oh, well, we can't stop them. You know, how energetic they're going to be or how enthusiastic, but I'm pretty much sure we're going to be pretty energetic and enthusiastic as well. I'll be very disappointed if we don't.
Can I ask about the culture you've built over the years? How proud are you of that? Who have been said the key figures in your career?
Oh, I think everyone, plays a role, in your club. It doesn't matter, your players and your staff. That all, it's about what you think's important for your club to be a good club, and what you think for your team to be a good team. What you think as an individual, to be a good individual to do your job, whatever it is at the club. That's everyone's got to make sure they're doing their bit the best they can. That's a big part. But for me, and again, I over the time, Scott Bailey's ringing, or whoever was that, but anyway.
Scotty, ring back, mate.
Thank you very much.
For me, I think the most important trait of our success in the time I've been there is, and Cameron's obviously, been one of them, is not only of our very talented players, being very talented players, they've really cared about the club and cared about their teammates. And, I think our club has been very, very fortunate. But having said that, I think the club recruited some of those guys as real young kids. And, I'm talking about Cameron, I'm talking about Billy Slater, I'm talking about Cooper Cronk, Ryan Hoffman. There's a whole heap of them I could go on, but they're the guys that have made our club what it is, because, as I said, because they've been talented players. But having said that, they've worked really hard to make the most of that talent, and that's rubbed off on some of the other players. And the other players that come into our club, if they don't see that, well, they probably don't hang around for too long. And so I believe that's what's made our club a reasonably successful club in the last whatever time.
So we'll go 2 more questions and then we'll have to wrap up because these guys have got 2 o'clock. We'll get Dale and Jessica.
Cam, when do you think you'll make a decision when you finish up? We have to ask it.
Is there a moment?
Sometime after the grand final.
Will it be straight after, or will you take time to mull it over? Have you just?
I don't know.
Who will you consider to make
That's 3 questions. You used them all up.
The other day, all your teammates, the 2 man, they're all saying they want you to play on, and one of the things they were saying, there's no reason they can't see Father Time catching up with you, and just sort of asking that. Is there anything at all that indicates, or is a signal to you perhaps it is catching up, because it doesn't look like it?
Not really, which is why it makes the decision really hard. I've spoken to a few of my ex-teammates that are now retired, and they've told me that it was just one day they woke up and just in their mind they didn't want to do it anymore, and that was the reason they knew it was time to finish up. So I haven't had that feeling yet, but yeah, there's lots of things to consider outside of just how I feel and whether I think I can play on. So after this game's finished, I'll do some thinking and I'll make a decision.